Professor Lyron's crystalline fingers tapped against the holographic display, bringing up tactical data from the Third Galactic Conflict. The lecture hall fell silent as images of devastated fleets and shattered worlds rotated in three-dimensional splendor above the assembled students. The human contingent, Lyron began, her voice carrying the musical quality of her Valoran species, consisted of merely 8% of the coalition forces, yet the war turned on their arrival. She paused, her luminescent eyes scanning the diverse classroom of future military officers. Can anyone tell me why? A Crithian cadet, his forearms gesturing enthusiastically, spoke up. Superior technology, Professor? No. Lyron's answer was immediate. Human technology was and remains average at best. Numbers? Suggested another student. A gaseous ephemeral contained within a pressure suit. Quite the opposite. Humans contributed the smallest numerical force of any coalition member. The class murmured in confusion. How could an unremarkable species with mediocre technology and minimal numbers have made such a decisive impact? Lyron smiled, an expression she'd learned from studying human behavior. Today, we have a special guest who can answer that question better than any simulation or historical record. She gestured toward the entrance. Please welcome Captain Mara Hale, Earth Defense Forces, retired. The woman who entered the lecture hall was unremarkable by galactic standards. She stood at average height, her frame neither imposing nor slight. Gray streaked through her dark hair, and a jagged scar ran from her left temple to her jaw. She wore a simple uniform, devoid of the elaborate decorations many species favored. Yet something in her steady gaze made every student sit straighter. Thank you, Professor, Mara said, her voice carrying easily through the hall. She studied the young faces before her, beings from 100 worlds, most of whom had never known true war. I understand you're wondering why Earth veterans are feared. A brave Scythian student raised a tentacle. Captain Hale, we mean no disrespect, but your species seems ordinary. What makes human soldiers different? Mara nodded slowly. That's a fair question. Let me tell you about the Battle of Chronos Station. She moved to the holographic display, pulling up new images. A massive orbital fortress appeared, surrounded by debris and damaged ships. The Zathun Empire had us trapped. 6,000 coalition soldiers and civilians, defending a station that couldn't be evacuated. We were outnumbered 15-1. The Zathun commander sent a message. Surrender and be enslaved or die. Mara's eyes grew distant. Every species in that station, Valorans, Crithians, Scythians, Ephemerals, voted to surrender. It was the logical choice. Better to live as slaves than die pointlessly. But you didn't surrender, Lyron interjected softly. No, Mara's voice hardened. The 200 human soldiers voted to fight, not because we thought we could win. We knew we couldn't. But we don't fight to win. She let the words hang in the air. I don't understand, the Crithian cadet said. If you knew you couldn't win. We fight to end it, Mara interrupted. Do you know the difference? Your species, most species, fight wars like games of strategy. You calculate acceptable losses, negotiate terms, surrender when the math doesn't work. You fight to win within certain parameters, certain rules. She shook her head. Humans don't have that switch. Mara manipulated the display, showing footage from the battle. Grainy, violent, chaotic. We sealed the civilians in the core sections. Then we vented half the station's atmosphere, set the reactors to cascade failure, and went hunting in the darkness. We didn't try to defend positions. We abandoned defense entirely. We turned the entire station into a weapon. The students watched in horror as human soldiers, some in damaged suits leaking air, others with catastrophic injuries, continued fighting. They used debris as projectiles, turned life support systems into traps, detonated their own ammunition stockpiles with enemies nearby. The Zathun had never encountered an opponent that didn't value its own survival, Mara continued. They kept trying to force our surrender, kept thinking we'd eventually break. They didn't understand that once you push humans past a certain point, we stop calculating odds. We stop caring about survival. We become something else. A young Valoran student, her crystalline form shimmering with distress, asked, Why? Why throw away your lives? Mara turned to her, and something in that scarred face made the student recoil. Because if we're going to die anyway, we're taking you with us. All of you will make victory so costly, so horrific, that you'll never threaten our people again. We won't just lose. We'll make you bleed so badly that the thought of fighting humans will haunt your species for generations. The lecture hall was utterly silent. At Kronos Station, Mara said quietly, we lost 173 human soldiers. The Zathun lost 8,000 troops and 16 capital ships before they withdrew. Not because we defeated them, we couldn't, but because we made them understand that even in death we wouldn't stop. We rigged the station's reactor to explode with enough force to take their entire fleet. They could either retreat or die with us. Professor Liren stepped forward. The Zathun Empire sued for peace 3 weeks later. They'd won nearly every major engagement, controlled most of coalition space, but they'd seen what humans were willing to do. We don't fight to win, Mara repeated, her voice carrying absolute conviction. We fight to end it. Either you stop or we all die together. There's no middle ground, no negotiation, no acceptable terms. You want war with humanity? We'll give you war until one of us doesn't exist anymore. She paused. That's why we're feared. Not because we're stronger or smarter or more advanced, but because we're willing to go further than anyone else thought possible. We'll burn ourselves to ashes if it means burning you too. The class sat frozen, finally understanding. Warfare for most species was a continuation of politics. Violent, yes, but ultimately rational. But humans approached it as an existential act. They didn't fight battles. They fought extinction-level events every single time. Questions? Liren asked softly. No one spoke. What could they say? Mara nodded, unsurprised. Good. Remember this lesson, all of you. Pray you never have to face human soldiers in anger, because we don't fight to win. Her scarred face hardened into something ancient and terrible. We fight to end.